Hello, everybody. This is Richard Stachey from Tinker to Tales,
And me.
and today we are doing another Shining video.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this will be Shining Inspirations Part 3. All right, and have to forgive us. We're doing it the wee hours of the night, and the babies are rocking to sleep. You might hear the sound of the
Swings.
swings rocking by. Um, uh, it's just one of those things, and yeah, we're very tired too. So trying to make a video of being tired is something else. All right, let's let's begin.
Okay, Richard and I made a really long video last night. It was like 900 years long. And after thinking about it and talking about it, we're breaking it up into two parts. I hope it makes a whole lot of sense and that everybody enjoys.
And now I'm going to do a quick talk about the Three Faces of Eve. We're going to do a little summary of the movie. Did you want to talk about it? Because you have a better way to say the summary.
Oh, so Eve is a woman that is, she has issues and she goes and gets diagnosed with multiple personality disorders. It's supposed to be based on a true story, but Richard finds out later that the story that the movie is based on is the doctor's point of view, and Eve, the woman, has a very different story about what actually happened. So this movie is basically just her journey through getting diagnosed and going through the struggle of having to deal with the multiple personalities and
As well as a
how
possible cure.
the cure, the treatment.
At least
for
according
it.
to these doctors in the story, the possible cure of the multiple personalities that she did have.
Yeah.
Um, Eve goes by three names: Eve White, Eve Black, and Jane.
And Jane comes out much later in the movie.
Yeah, she comes out much later in the movie, and her husband though is a total jerk, and
Yeah,
definitely a wife beater.
Yeah.
Very cringy too, and
It's a little hard to watch.
it is a little bit hard to
Yeah.
watch. And it's also directed by
Nunnally?
Johnson. He basically has been a script writer for many years, as well as he produced and wrote many movies. I did, after watching Three Faces of Eve a second time and noticing some things that I'm going to be talking about, I kind of went through watching the first movie he directed, which was called Night People back in 1954. But I didn't really see anything super special about it in comparison to Three Faces of Eve. I think I'll just leave that right now at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really analyzed Three Faces of Eve because after knowing what I've spotted out, which I'm going to be presenting, I do think that this movie needs to be analyzed somehow. Maybe I'll do it in another
Lifetime.
maybe I'll do it in a video that's more focused on Three Faces of Eve itself.
Yeah.
Or unless somebody else wants to jump into it, please, if somebody does, please post the link down there. I'll be happy to watch it and share it to everybody else.
Yeah. Spoiler
I know
alert.
that there's going to be spoilers in this, what we're going to be talking about. So I'm just going to try to save a headache on.
Yeah. The ending of the movie is kind of I don't know, I wouldn't say it's a twist, but it's like a lot of stuff is revealed, and we're going to go over some of the stuff that happens at the end.
Yeah, and just in case if you never saw Three Faces of Eve, and if you really want to check that out before we talk about it. Just stop over here and check out the movie, and then please come back to watching the
Yeah.
video.
The rest of the video.
The rest of the video. Please come back and watch the rest of the videos afterwards. All right. I'm going to talk about this scene over here. This is Eve White at the moment, and she's talking to one of the doctors. And her husband kind of like forced her to talk to the doctors after she had an issue.
There was an incident with her child, with their child. She harmed the child as Eve Black.
Yeah. But I also wanted to talk about that in the scene here. You're going to notice that some of the objects are going to be switched when it cuts to another scene.
Yes. Wandering ashtray.
Wandering ashtray. Wandering book. Okay, I'm going to stop over here. Now, interesting to note that I've noticed continuity differences in Lolita, which was from 1962. There's definitely continuity differences going on in The Shining that we know about. And Three Faces of Eve is from 1957. There's continuity differences going on in here. I don't know for sure if Nunnally Johnson is the person that started the continuity differences going on, but it's definitely being used in here.
I'm not convinced the wandering ashtray is an intentional continuity difference, though.
Well, I think it's
You think it is, and that's
yes.
fine.
I think it is. But I don't know for sure if, like I said, I don't know for sure he started it. So I definitely would have to start digging deeper into finding out where the continuity differences started coming into play, as well as being
The cigar.
I think being used in the sense to either mention that the story is an unreliable narrator.
Was this covered in ice cream too?
No.
No, I feel like I saw someone else talk about
Well,
this.
The movie, the person that did the video Shining Insights kind of talked about the wandering cigar in the Ullman's office while he's interviewing Jack, and in comparison to the moving ashtray scene in Three Faces of Eve, but it also involves with the hat and stuff.
Okay.
So these are different scenes though. Here. Now, the reason why I'm posting up this book up here is because if by chance that this story has been told as unreliable narrator, I wonder if Johnston, the director of Three Faces of Eve, happened to have any insider information about
Eve's story, Eve's side of the story.
Yeah, Eve's side of the story. Maybe he was able to interview her and talk to her privately, and she was able to tell something else more, because according to the I Am Eve book, she kind of like really brings out all the dirt.
Yeah.
This is a very hard to find book. At least I'm not able to find a copy yet. So
the unreliable narrator in this case wouldn't necessarily be someone that's not being truthful. It would be the doctors.
Yeah.
That sort of sold her story.
Yeah, and that's what makes. This is why the next when I get to the doctors talking and showing the stuff going on there without Eve's presence, I think is more important.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now going back to here. Now notice that there's a book there with the lighter. And then in this scene, now these scenes just take place like from one cutscene to the next cutscene. There's actually I'm not doing any multiple changes or waiting around. These are actual changes in between the scenes
Yeah,
itself.
there's no time that's elapsed.
Yeah, there's no reason for it to be vanishing right off the bat. Now, this is right before Eve White turns into Eve Black.
This is right when Eve White turns into Eve Black.
Yeah, when she starts turning. She goes into this facial, holding her hand's face with the eyes, and right there it kind of resembles the possibility when Jack starts sitting in the
Yeah.
when he starts sitting in the gold room and he's asking for a drink, and then comes a ghost. Now, the thing about the Wendy theory is that Wendy theory kind of picks off about the possibility that Wendy could be schizoid, and she has all these weird hallucinations of what's going on throughout the entire hotel. There's a possibility, mostly that my wife started cooking up, and then I
didn't start cooking it up. I told you that's what I thought it was, and you glossed over it 2 years ago, and then you came up with it yourself and thought you were a genius.
Anyway, it's the possibility that Wendy is experiencing multiple personalities,
Or one of the three of them is.
or quite possibly one of the three of them could be experiencing multiple personalities. Could be Jack experiencing multiple personalities, or maybe Danny experiencing multiple personalities. I kind of feel it's Wendy only because I did a very huge examination of the hotel that Wendy was staying, especially when she was talking to the doctor, and the upside down oven still kind of tells me that this is not a kitchen. So I know some people would argue and say like, oh, they actually sold ovens like this, but those ovens were designed to be on a top counter, not to have you bent all the way down playing around with dials.
You're talking way too long about this oven that you don't even have up on the screen.
I know. Well, I'll talk more about the oven later. Anyway, I just wanted to show that. And then this is Eve Black now.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, the ashtray is moved all the way over on the other side of the desk. And I'm just showing a cutscene between both of them, how where the ashtrays basically been moving back and forth. Now, in this scene over here, this is where the two doctors are talking about the situation of Eve herself. And he just basically walks all the way there, takes a seat. Nothing's been moved. The ashtray's over. The ashtray is located at that side of the table. And then when he turns around, the ashtray is right on top of the paper. Just to do a quick glance. Ashtray is not on top of the paper. And now the ashtray is on top of the paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then as he gets up, the ashtray is off the paper and the paper is definitely moved. And I did all 3 segments here to show you the movement of the ashtray. Now, I do believe that this is done on purpose, and I believe it's very similar, and which is possible the inspiration of in The Shining, as everyone keeps on talking about the missing chairs and the missing chairs and table that's behind Jack, and then it disappears on the next scene. And the reason why I believe it's similar is not because the chair and the table disappears. It's similar because over here, when the ashtray is on this paper over here, your eyes kind of notice the Newsweek
magazine.
magazine, and there's another paper over there which I have a hard time reading because my copy is kind of blurred. But I really think this is meant to draw your attention over here. And in this scene over here with Jack, it also draws your attention to the ear vents.
Yeah. And
Now, at first, a lot of people are not paying attention to the ear vents, I guess, because they're just noticing that the chairs and tables are disappearing. But ever since I've been talking to Em about the ear vents, I've been seeing ear vents like crazy in The Shining. Another scene in Three Faces of Eve is where she's playing ball with her daughter, which is similar to in when Danny was just playing with his toys, I guess. But in this case, what happens is that she ends up overrolling the ball under this house here, and her daughter is crawling underneath with the spiders and the bugs and whatever else there's.
yeah.
Even though this looks pretty darn clean.
It does look clean.
Looks pretty darn clean. But which is really interesting is that when she crawls deep down there and she starts
Yeah, she looks way smaller, or this place looks way more spacious than it did a second ago.
yeah, and it's relatively interesting because she was having this is when she's having her moment of issues going on here in the area. And I believe that this scene here, the size of everything, is a definitely inspiration to Danny on the rug with all this huge rug here, because it looks like he's in a sea of sea of rug.
Yeah, like there's nothing but rug.
There's nothing but rug. But when he stands up, that's when you notice. Sure enough, yes, everything, the rug pattern has switched around, as everyone's been talking about before. Like over here, the black line is right in front of him, and then when he stands up, the black line is behind him.
It's brown to me.
Or brown.
Maybe it's black.
I got man eyes. But the ashtray is over here, and when you look,
Oh, it's another one of those wandering ashtrays.
yes, wandering ashtray. And when you go over here, it should be right over here where the ashtray and the elevator should be. So it gives you an idea, like, yes, this area that he's at is really spread out. And that's why I kind of believe that this scene here is definitely inspired from here in Three Faces of Eve.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm.
Definitely maybe.
Definitely maybe. My opinion. Now, this is the big revealing ending part. Okay, when the doctors were talking to her and they're trying to find out, like, what is the issue that caused her multiple personality disorder, and it turned out when she was a little child, her grandmother died, and they wanted her to kiss her dead grandmother.
Yeah.
And it traumatized her. And basically, you guys know where I'm going at. Jack is being traumatized kissing a dead old lady.
Yeah, what appears to be the corpse of an old lady.
Corpse of an old lady, a dead old lady. And this next scene, I'm going to have a little clip, very little clip of Eve
Remembering something.
remembering something.
Go on.
And in Richmond, we lived on 5th Street. 237 5th Street.
So it's my hunch is that somehow 237 could be connected to Three Faces of Eve.
I think so. I think the similarity is... This one I don't think is very far-fetched.
No, not really far-fetched, but the row itself, I'm thinking that if it's connected with Eve 237, then possible the multiple personalities could
Yeah.
be a possible connection into The Shining itself.
Yeah, like it's a whole thing. Danny, Jack, Wendy.
Halloran.
I don't know about Halloran, but maybe
I
Halloran.
think Halloran is part of a personality too, and like I said, I'll try to get into more in.
Well, the only reason I would maybe consider that is because in Three Faces of Eve, she considers the personalities that go away as dying.
Yeah.
And in The Shining, if you look at it from a perspective that it's multiple personality disorder, then the other personalities need to die for the dominant personality to remain.
Yeah, and in that case, her Jack personality kills the Halloran personality, and her Danny personality kills the Jack personality.
Yeah, I guess.
In something to think about. Please, once again, if you have any ideas, please feel free and post it in the comments. If you like the idea or you want to build up on it, I'm all happy for it.
And I just want to point out that of all these movies Richard's pointing out as being inspirations, I think this one is the best one. And I will summarize in less than 45 minutes why. The beginning of the movie, Eve has a personality break, harms her child, which triggers the treatment. This is very similar to The Shining, where we find out Jack harms Danny, which sort of changes the course of his life from that point. And this ball scene, we find out which triggers the personality disorder to start when she's a child. She's playing with someone, the ball rolls under the house. She hears her mother calling her. She comes out and is carried in to kiss her dead grandmother, which sets off this trauma that causes her personality disorder. And if you equate that to the scene in the hallway with Danny, the ball rolls to him, he gets up, calls out to his mother, goes into room 237, something traumatic happens. Later, we see Jack in room 237 kissing a dead old woman. I think those similarities are just too much to say that it's coincidental. I think there was definitely parallels meant between this movie and The Shining. Even if it's just as like an Easter egg, sort of a nod to Three Faces of Eve, I just think that's just too many things to be coincidental.
That's good. All right. Anyway, this is Richard Stashy from Tinker to Tales.
And me.
And like I said, hit those likes, hit all those buttons, please, for me. I would like to get 1,000 subscribers too.
Someday.
Sometime. I am pretty pleased to have over 340 something.
For now.
For now, but and yes, please post those comments. I want to hear your guys' thoughts about it. And Merry Christmas too.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.